the other thing that I said we have to do is a budget. Um, there are so many things that are going into this budget, but I was just at budget committee this week. Um, and I'm here to tell all of you that I'm really worried. We have hundreds of thousands of people in Indiana who are still on unemployment. They're not working. They don't have jobs. And the moratorium on utility cutoffs is going to expire in a week. The moratorium on evictions is going to expire. And the $600 of relief money that the federal government had given till the end of July has run out. And I am seriously afraid that we're going to have people who don't have a place to live, who can't find food, who don't have utilities. And we're going to have to take some of this money from that the governor is sitting on right now, the CARES money, and put it towards poor relief in one way or another. And this, I really predict that in a month from now, Indiana could be sliding into a really bad state, along with all the other states, unless we do something to help the people who don't have jobs. That's a really bummer of a thing to say to everybody, but I'm really bummed right now about this. I really, really believe that we're headed for a serious issue. Normally in our budget year, we assume that we're gonna, budgets move growth. Well, we assume 2% growth or 3% growth. This year, we may be looking at 2 to 5% down, which means that every single program that we have in the state will be cut. Schools. Schools are another hugely problematic issue, and they just became more problematic about 5 hours ago. Rod Gray, who is the Senate pro tem leader, just issued a letter to all the school leaders. Basically, last June, the 4 leaders and the governor kind of concurred that we were not going to mess with school funding. School funding would stay where it was. Rod Gray has just announced that if your school is going 100% virtual, that you will have your funding cut by 15% to match what is the virtual school funding formula. So Indiana's in big trouble. We need a lot of help. All of you people who are out there running, I hope you are aware of all these issues. Talk to people in your district, find out, where they are, what they're doing. Talk to your township trustees and see what kind of claims they've had. We're going to face a really, I think, hard time in the next 6 months. So you guys all have a lot of things to talk about. Anyway, I hope all of you are. I'm past my minutes. I'm at 7, so I will sign off with what I hope is not with what is still a message of good luck and hope for me to you. You guys need to win. We need to get back some numbers in the State House. We've got a lot of work to do in the state.
All right. Thank you so much, Karen. I really appreciate that. All right. And are you leaving us?
I'm going to stick around for a little bit.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to start with our candidate introductions. And Luke, we're going to start with you. I'm unmuting you. There you go. And I want to put you in the big box. There you are. Okay, so all right, Luke, if you could do a 2-minute introduction, that'd be great.
So my name is Luke Bohm. I'm a resident of Valparaiso and a small business owner. I'm ready for the state senate in District 5 against, I'm sure, Karen's good buddy, Ed Charbonneau. This election has been incredible. We've been running it since the end of November, or since early November. last year, right after the municipal election. And we have been all over. I have 5 counties in my district, LaPorte being one of them. And it's been amazing the support we're getting on the ground. You know, I've got people coming up to me in any town I visit, talking like, hey, you know, I believe that you're the best way for us. And I love your stances. I love what you're doing. So the big thing for me right now is what Karen said, was we're trying to get more numbers into the state house. It's you know, a little frustrating. Like I said, it's great to get support from people on the ground, but we're not doing a whole lot. Like I said, I'm having trouble getting even a phone call back from anyone in the court, and God knows what's happening down in Indianapolis. You know,
It's just a straight shot, Judy.
Sorry, somebody's got something. I'm trying to mute people.
is that a NASA line we got into? Well, no, but you know, like I said, the power of the people, I really think, is going to show up in November and at the polls, because the amount of energy that I'm seeing on the ground to elect Democrats and to elect a new wave of leaders is, you know, something I've never seen. I worked on the East Coast. I worked on over 40 elections nationwide, and this is quite the year to be run.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you. Okay, so we're going to move to Pat Boy next. If I can find, there she is. Pat, are you ready? Let's see. Oh, now where'd you go? Hang on. Oh, there she is. Great, great. Okay, Pat, welcome. And so, yeah, if you could give us your 2-minute introduction, that would be delightful.
Okay. I'm Pat Boy, not Patrick. I'm running for re-election for District 9. I've been on the House. I've been in the House legislature since 2019, so I'm a newbie. I grew up in Chicago, and we moved out to Indiana when my husband got a job at the mill. Our son was born here. We bought a house 40 years ago, actually 43 years ago now. My husband was a quadriplegic for 31 years, so I took care of him while we had a business at home. I've always voted. I voted in every election except one since I was old enough to vote. I was sick one year. But in 2003, I entered the political world for real. I was a city councilwoman for 15 years. I learned a lot, but the last 2 years as state rep, it's been absolutely fascinating. There's always more to learn, more to do, and I'm really enjoying the challenge. I'd like to do it again. I serve on elections, family, child, and human affairs, and the statutory committee on international interstate cooperation, which is sometimes called the intergalactic committee because it's much easier to say. I'm on the Code Revision Commission for summer, and I'm also on elections and the Advisory Commission on Intergovernmental Relations. Nothing's been scheduled for any of those yet. In my non-governmental life, I serve as a member of several bipartisan groups, including the LaPorte County Broadband Task Force to bring broadband access to everybody in the county. I've served on a nonprofit board for many years, representing them to the Governor's Drug-Free Partnership. I'm a member and past president of both the Nonpartisan League of Women Voters of LaPorte County and the Rotary Club of Michigan City, and I'm a member of the LaPorte County chapter of the NAACP. And the most important thing we need to remember now is that because of redistricting, we need to get more Democrats elected.
All right. Thank you, Pat. All right.
Thank
Okay. Let's see. Now, Gary, I'd like to go to you next. So put you in there, and then I'm going to, I think you're unmuted. Try us out. So, oh no, Andy, how do I get you to here? Can't you? Let's see. Hang on. Let me get you unmuted. Let's see. Darn, where's your mute button? Now you've moved. Your mute button moved. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to have to. Oh, darn it the heck. Gary, can you unmute yourself? Can you try it? Nope. Okay. I'm going to unmute everyone. And now I'm going to ask you to now individually mute yourself, please. Okay. Try now, Gary. Oh, we've got some other issue. Okay, Gary, why don't we move to Tim, and we'll see if we can't work out your mute issue, because I can't hear you.
All right, are we sounding good over here?
There we go. Good job. Okay,
All right.
go ahead. There we go. Oops. Oh, geez, did I do that right? There we go. Okay, sorry.
Hey, everybody. My name is Tim Gust. I'm running for House of Representatives in District 20, most of LaPorte County and a good chunk of Stark. I am a steel worker by career and a father. I've got a son I was talking about earlier. He's about ready to turn 6 at the end of the month, so it's been a pretty exciting time for me. This is my first foray into politics. I've always been very interested in state and local politics. And I'm also not a real big fan of people running completely unopposed. And I noticed that in District 20, that was going to be the case. The incumbent didn't even have anybody in his own party running against him. So I figured, hey, why not? We'll give it a shot. I'm a younger guy. I'm going to be 34 by the time the election rolls around. But I think that we're seeing a wave of younger people, especially now with the issues that have come to everybody this year, whether it be the COVID pandemic or the Black Lives Movement across the country. You know, we've seen it in LaPorte County. It got a little nasty in Michigan City. Thankfully, our rally here, and I live just north of LaPorte, and ours was fairly uneventful, if that's a term you would want to use. But I think we're going to see a lot more people get engaged that are younger. They're going to be first-time voters, and I think it's important for us as candidates and even voters. We need to make sure that the young people are informed and registered to vote, because that's honestly the only way we're going to win. I mean, if you look at my district, it's been a Republican back to Mary Kay Budak, who just unfortunately passed not that long ago, but it's been Republican since before I was born. And things aren't going to change unless we get more people involved and can grab the attention of younger people. It's nice to see the same people on the Democratic Party come out time and time again, and it's, knowing that they've got a stronghold where they do, like Ms. Talion, which is great. I've met her several times at my local union hall. I'm a big supporter of hers, but being in the super minority, there doesn't seem, speaking with the party, there doesn't seem to be a real urgency about the situation we're in. And it's to me, it's mind-boggling. We all need to win these races. Are we? Probably not. But, we have to try, and we have to be backed by a party that's going to be pushing us.
Sorry, I'm going to have to stop you, Tim. We're over time, but we'll come, you'll get some more time as we move along.
I appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you.
sure. So, okay, Gary, let's see if we can get you on here. And so let's see, can we hear you, Gary?
I hope so. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Excellent.
Great. My name is Gary Davis. I grew up in Michigan City, in the west side of Michigan City, graduated from Michigan City High School, graduated from Indiana University in South Bend with an education degree, secondary education and a teaching license. However, I never taught school. I went from there to the Valparaiso University School of Law, graduated from there in 1982. I've been practicing disability law, representing disabled workers and injured workers and Indiana workers' compensation and disabled workers and Social Security disability since that time, fighting for them as best I can. And that's one of the things that motivated me to pursue this. I feel as though, let me tell you a little personal information. I'm married, my wife of 37 years, his name is Dana. This month we'll be married 38 years. I have 2 adult children, Ben and Jacqueline. We live on a small farm in northern Indiana. I've been a Democrat all my life, and I've been on the election board for LaPorte County for a number of years as a Democratic appointee. I was president of the election board for a number of years. I've also served as a deputy prosecutor in LaPorte County a number of years ago, so I have some insight to the criminal justice system. But the thing I wanted to say is that I've practiced law a long time. I want to use those skills in the state Senate. I get the chance to do that same kind of advocacy for the people of my district. And I'd also like to spend some time in public service. I've spent my life in private practice, so one of my goals is to return to public service. So those are the things I wanted to mention tonight in my opening statement. Thank you. Thank
Great.
you, everybody, for being here tonight. I appreciate it.
Great. So, since we have you, Gary, and your internet seems to be the sketchiest, I'll start with our questions with you, okay? Since we have you here.
Sounds good.
So our first
Sounds good.
question is about economic recovery. So we heard a little bit from Karen about this being a budget year and about the, decreased revenues. So our question is, what are the important priorities that you will pursue as a state legislator relative to Indiana's economic recovery from the pandemic?
That's kind of based on my experience representing people over my career. I feel like there's a couple of things that are really important. The Indiana unemployment benefits, if you're familiar with that Indiana system, are not great. The federal system has really helped people, and I know they're working on that right now in DC, and I hope they get it resolved, as Karen talked about. But I think the unemployment system isn't fair to workers. It isn't fair compensation when you lose your job. It is, I would say, very difficult to survive on the amount of money they're going to provide you for Indiana unemployment. And the other thing that I know Karen says it may not be possible, but I really want to try a livable, sustainable minimum wage for people. $7.25 an hour is the federal standard, and that's what we have in Indiana right now. That isn't right. That isn't fair, and it cannot be. We need to change that minimum wage to a sustainable minimum wage. So that'd be my two answers to that question.
All right, excellent. Okay, and then next we'll move to Pat. Okay, so I'm going to unmute you, Pat. I'm going to put you in this spotlight. There you are. Okay, so do you want me to read the question again, Pat?
Sure.
Okay. What are the important priorities that you will pursue as a state legislator relative to Indiana's economic recovery from the pandemic?
I think what I'll probably do is reintroduce my bill for a minimum wage that I had in 2019, and possibly adjust it to a living wage. There was a study in Massachusetts with the Institute of Technology that shows that one adult and two children in the Michigan City area needs $9 an hour just to reach poverty levels. $7.25 an hour doesn't go anywhere. With two adults, one working with three children, poverty level would be $13 an hour. I don't know how we can adjust for that, but there's got to be something we can do to at least exceed the $7.25 an hour, because it's just not helping anyone at all, because it's been more than 10 years now since they've increased it at all, and wages have not met up with needs at all.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Pat. And next we'll go to Tim, and I'm unmuting you. I'm going to put you in the spotlight. All right. Would you like me to read the question again?
If you would, real quick. I've been taking notes.
What are the important priorities that you will pursue as a state legislator relative to Indiana's economic recovery from the pandemic?
First off, I think we've seen, as I was alluding to earlier with the COVID pandemic, we've seen how truly unused labor is in this country. And I think if we can get enough Democrats reelected, we can actually start to really make a move for organized labor. You see issues at the hospitals where the nurses aren't able to do anything to adjust their wages or benefits because they're not unionized. I think that would be a key thing, and that even then, it would push up people's salaries or year-end money, regardless of what you do. If we can get more organized labor and return to somewhere, we're at about 8% nationally. So if we can bump that number up and get more people participating in that and having control over their working lives, I think would make a big difference. And again, now's the year to do it. And the other thing is, if there's so much wrong right now with the economy, it would be nice to see a wage increase of some sort. I think a livable wage is going to be a little bit too strong to push past the Republicans in the state, but bumping up maybe a scale year by year of the minimum wage for the state, say to something like $9 an hour over the course of a couple of years, not all at once to scare people away, and then forcing these companies to actually pay living wages. Okay, Indiana's top 5 in this country for business climate and attracting new business and whatnot, but we're bottom 5 in worker compensation, and those numbers don't really jive.
Okay, I'll have to stop you there. Okay, thank you. Okay, and Luke, I'm gonna unmute you if it kills me. Okay, there you go. Okay, same question. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I'm okay. So to help with the recovery of the economic issue we have, first, we need to introduce a state level stimulus package. It cannot be $600 a week. We will not have that fund. Something like $200 a week, $300, something of that sort. Try and get Hoosiers back on their feet. Hopefully we have another federal stimulus package, and that's going to help, but we cannot rely on that when we have Hoosiers going hungry. Second one, Indiana, I just looked, I think has the 6th most small businesses of any state in the nation. What we need to do is we need to put a 2-year memorandum on state taxes for small businesses to start propping Main Street up as well. I've been saying all along that COVID has been eating small businesses like tornadoes eat trailer parks. They're gobbling them up and spitting them out. The third one is, I can see that Tim and I have conferred on this before, is the minimum wage increase. I believe that we need to pass a 5-year plan to increase the minimum wage, which would take effect in July of 2021 with $9.50 an hour, and then go up every 6 months by 50 cents.
All right, great. I'm going to stop you there, Luke. And then, but because we have you here, I'll start with you on our next question, okay?
Okay.
All right. So the next question has to do with school reopening. And my question is, what is your opinion on Indiana's school reopening policies? We just heard a new policy that was unveiled today. And so feel free to comment on that as well.
So I'll be honest, I have not had a chance to review everything with it, so I would not like to speak on it without reviewing all of it beforehand. But as far as go with school reopening, I think we need to shut it down until the new year. Just not this, 1 month, 3 week, 2 week, an hour and a half, whatever the school district's trying to do, we need to shut it down until the new year. But with that, instead of cutting the budgets for schools to go virtually, I believe that we need to put in an emergency budget, which I apologize to Representative Boyd and Senator Talion for trying to ask you to go back to Indianapolis sooner rather than later. But we need to get something where we can supply these teachers with what they need for virtual learning. It is amazing how we have told teachers on a drop of a hat to change their plans for the entire school season or school year, and then not give them the resources. It is just an encapsulation of how we treat teachers in this state, and it's honestly disgusting. The fact that any regular Hoosier can say that that's okay, just, I'm getting worked up. I'm going to use everyone's minutes if I continue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop you there. So next we'll go to Pat, and then Pat, if you could speak on that same question, and that is, give us your opinion on the school reopening policies at the state level. Oh, wait, hang on. You're not unmuted. There.
Am I unmuted now? Okay.
Yes, now you're ready.
Okay. I hadn't heard about Senator Bray's letter yet, which is kind of a shock. Michigan City schools right now have decided that they're not going back until after fall break. or those who do go back, they're going to have a bigger problem because they're going to have, when they do reopen, if they do reopen, they're going to have kids in school, they're going to have kids in school part-time, and there's going to have kids online. And it's going to be a nightmare for the teachers. So I think that that they're going to have to do something about the policy to say that everyone either goes back or they don't go back. And I think if they all go back, we're going to end up with another surge in COVID. Keeping them in online for the next year, I think would make a lot of sense. There was a group of kids who went to a summer camp and like a team building camp or something for a week, and they came back and like they've all got COVID. And that was just, that was just a group of kids that got together for this program. It's going to be worse if they open the schools up. And I know that Michigan City has made the decision not to do that because of that. I'm sure there are other school districts that have done the same. I just heard about Michigan City's this week. So.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there. We'll move on.
Okay.
Sorry, there's just not enough time, is there? Okay,
No.
so Gary, sorry. So Gary, let's go to
Okay.
you next. Unmuted
Okay.
you and spotlighted you. Okay, you should be ready.
Here's the thing. I met with a group of teachers today. I Zoom met with a group of teachers that have been working with me. And I fear that I like everybody's comments. I certainly would agree with what people are saying, but I don't think we're thinking about this long-term enough. I mean, I'm thinking about the Spanish flu, and it took a year, 2, 3 years to be able to recover and function properly. And even though the president says all these weird or strange things about how we're gonna have a vaccine next week or next month or whatever he's saying, I think the science and the doctors are saying that may not be true. And I fear that we need to think long-term more about education than short-term, although I do believe we're going back too soon and we should be concerned about COVID and follow the experts of doctors and scientists and not rush back. I'm saddened to hear about what that state Senate pro tem person said, because that doesn't make sense to force local school systems. They need to base it based on the infection rate and the location where the schools are. So that makes no sense to do some kind of statewide, you're punished because you're going back, you're going back virtually as opposed to going back in person or some sort of hybrid. And I'll tell you that one of the teachers today told me a story. She has been a teacher for a long time. Her parents are elderly and in poor health. She's not so much afraid for herself, but she goes to school, and I think she teaches first graders, if I'm not mistaken. You have to be hands-on with first graders. Does she bring that home? One of her parents is in the hospital right now. So people aren't thinking long-term about that problem. And also school bus drivers, janitors, people that work in the kitchen. Usually a lot of those people are elderly, semi-retired. Those people are vulnerable as well. We have to think more long-term and broader about the impact of going back to school, in my opinion.
All right, thank you. Okay, and then Tim. Well, same question for you, please.
Yeah, I think I've got a unique perspective on this one. My ex-wife is an elementary school teacher where my son's going to school. So we don't really have a choice. If they open back school back up in LaPorte, he's going to go to school. There's no reason for him not to, because she's got to be there. So if she gets it, he's going to end up with it anyway. So, I mean, that's kind of the approach I've been taking. I've talked to my family doctor. I've talked to his pediatrician. They both think that their professional opinion is the psychological and developmental and emotional growth of the child or children in this situation is more important than them catching the virus. Most cases for children turn out to be a mild cold, if anything, if they're not asymptomatic. Yes, that brings into call, the health of other family members, caretakers if parents work. But we've been on this weird track for so long that I'm for opening schools back up. I part with everybody on that one, simply because we just started a mask mandate a couple weeks ago or last week. You know, why wasn't that already in place in March or April, and we could have severely closed this down. I'm not a real big believer in the herd immunity type thing, but you know, I'm more concerned about my child's mental development and his ability to interact with other kids, and my ex-wife and I's ability to provide a home and a roof over his head and a meal on the table. And that's the way I'm looking at it, is we have to go back to work. You know, it's the federal stimulus is ending for unemployment. And as Gary was saying earlier, you know, the unemployment for Indiana, I've been on it personally before myself years ago. And it's a joke. You can't live on unemployment for longer than a month. You have to start.
I'm sorry. I'll have to stop you there. Sorry, we're going over. These are meaty questions. So, okay, Pat, I think we'll start with you on this next one. And there we go. And so our next question to Pat is about the environment and climate change. What are your top 1 or 2 priorities regarding environmental protection or climate change in Indiana?
Last year, I sponsored a bill for a notice of environmental damage. It didn't get, it was my only bill that got heard in committee, because that's up to the committee chairs what bill gets heard. It doesn't go to the floor if it's not heard in committee. The chair was interested in it, but it went a little too far, I think. But I'd like to do something similar to it this year, because what they did was not sufficient. You can tell by the website for the DNR for IDEM has a thing on it for the fish kill at Burns Harbor, at ArcelorMittal. That was what brought it to a head, but it happens all over the state, and they need to notify people when something's happening. And I think that's one of the things that people really need to worry about, is that things happen and they don't know about it, and they're drinking the water or breathing the air. And a second thing I wanted to do again was try to get testing for kids for their blood lead levels before they start school. That didn't get heard in committee either. There was a bill for lead in the water in schools. That got through, but that's the only thing that got through last year, and that wasn't my bill. But I would like to make sure that kids get tested.
Great. Okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to go to Luke next. And let's see. Whoops. Oh, you're already unmuted. Okay. There you are. Okay. Same question. Would you like me to read it again?
No, I'll read it. I'm fine with that. The first thing that I would do would be work with Representative Boyd and work with environmental groups to see what we can do about river pollution here in Indiana. You know, I've got the Tippecanoe, the Little Yellow, and part of Deep River in my district. And I've only got a few seconds here, so I can't get too in depth, but for as rural as they are in my district, the contamination is through the roof. So not only do we need to clean up our rivers, we also need to protect our drinking water as well. You know, old contamination sites that have seeped into the groundwater is affecting a lot of little towns like Monterey, Madeiryville, Pulaski. And here's the problem. We don't have testing at other places in the state. I think if we had more pollution testing throughout the state in our rural communities, we would all be shocked, and we might be able to get something moved on that. So I would start with testing and then to clean up the rivers and the water.
Excellent. Okay, and so Gary, will go next to you. This, all right.
I guess
Are you,
yeah, can you hear me okay?
yes, I didn't know if you wanted me to read the question, but sounds like you are ready.
No, I don't need to read the question again. That's fine. I guess I was thinking more in terms of the auto industry in our state and electric vehicles, hybrid vehicles, encouraging the use of that, maybe tax credits. I really haven't thought it through completely, but somehow encouraging green energy. We have windmills. We need to encourage the use of any kind of green energy, because our environment is is being damaged. And I guess I wasn't thinking more specifically like Luke was about certain items in my district. I was thinking more broadly about, we have so much of the auto industry in our state, and can we somehow incentivize, I know I saw something from the United Auto Workers about electric vehicles, and I believe that might be an avenue or a path to help our environment, because obviously we need to do something about the air quality, and I think the green energy sort of things would help us. If we can do that in a broader sense, tax credits, something like that for the auto industry is what I was thinking.
Excellent. Okay. So Tim, I think you are our last person who hasn't answered this question.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
As far as the climate goes, and again, I'm thinking large scale and within my district, there's some coal ash remediation going on with NIPSCO, and they've kind of dropped the ball on that before. I think we need to look at more effective ways to handle that. There's the safest way to handle it is by rail, and everything I've read is they're going to be trucking it through the pines and over into Wheatfield. That's not acceptable when we've got rail. As far as locally, there was a bill passed last year. It was the House and Roll Act 1001 that set aside $2.3 million for the Kankakee and Yellow River Basin Commission to start, rebuilding levees and things like that. I think that number is laughable considering how many acres that, acres and communities that the basins affect, whether it be for agricultural reasons or residential or even spreading into towns. I think we could spend a little bit more of our state's budget and put it into the natural resources area and help, as Luke was saying, clean up these areas, because it's one of our most natural, or one of the country's most natural occurring marshes, and to keep it clean is to keep our state running through our agricultural, especially up here in Northwest Indiana. I think that is very important. But I'd also like to see somebody do something about the coal ash, and as far as liners and collections for the leachate and all that other stuff that could potentially harm groundwater, as Representative Boy was saying as well.
All right, great. And so Tim, we will stay with you to start our next topic, which is criminal justice.
Okay.
Our question is, what are the most important one or two reforms that Indiana should adopt to ensure more equitable criminal justice in Indiana?
As far as criminal justice is concerned with me, I was happy to see a lot of county prosecutors go ahead and push marijuana arrests down to the bottom of their stacks. I think that, with us sort of being on an island as far as medical marijuana or recreational marijuana is concerned, we can do more to get away from those and wasting time and energy and money on doing that. It would open up so much more in wasting time and keeping people out of prison or jail, especially for minor offenses. And we really, that seems to be a big problem in this state, especially with the surrounding states having some sort of cannabis legislation already enacted.
Great, thank you. Okay, so where did Pat go? I lost Pat. Sorry, I lost Pat. That's right. We'll go to Gary next. Okay, so same question. Are you, would you like me to read the question again?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
I think the decriminalization of marijuana would be, maybe that's going to what Tim was just talking about. That would be the right direction for our state. I was a former deputy prosecutor. It's a different era, a different time now, I know, but we should not be putting people in jail for possession of marijuana. And the other issue to me is people in poverty end up in jail so many more times than people with wealth or money or affluence. You think it isn't true, but I can tell you, watching the court systems up close, it still is true. People with that sitting in those jails with minor amounts of bail, they just cannot come up with. It's not a fair system and it's not a right system. And it used to be when I was a deputy prosecutor, the jails were a little calmer, a little.
We may be losing you, Gary. I'm getting a warning that your bandwidth is low. So Gary, I'm gonna go ahead and move to Luke, because I can see Luke. And hopefully we'll give you a couple more seconds, Gary, if we can get you back on. All right, wait, hang on, you're muted. There we go. Okay, Luke, same question.
Okay, so decriminalizing marijuana is good. You know, I'm all for that. I legalize it. That's another conversation. To me, what we need to do is we need to work on our recidivism program here in the state. Indiana in 2018 had a 33.78 recidivism rate. That is one of the worst in the nation. We need to work on in prison or in jail programs to teach these criminals how to be better citizens when they get out, so they're not turning right back around. And that also adds to the school to prison pipeline in our inner cities. We need to work on the cause, not just the effect here in Indiana. So my answer in criminal justice is to make it not an issue. Stop it before it becomes a point where we're having to rely on prosecutors and judges to make what we deem the right decision.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And I know there's Pat. Okay, Pat, same question.
Okay, I think what we need to do first of all is make sure we support the programs right now that are working, like the drug court and the veterans court. It is helping with the recidivism in a lot of ways. Decriminalizing marijuana and possibly granting amnesty to those who have already had offenses just for a possession might be a good thing. I did a bill in 2019 for medical marijuana, which went nowhere, but I'm going to try it again. I don't know about legalizing marijuana myself for recreation. That's kind of pushing it a little bit. I think if we can get the medical done first and decriminalize the possession in small quantities, I think that would go a long way to help with, yeah. I also had a bill last year for detention of juveniles in when they're charged as adults, and trying to keep them out of the juvenile system as well as keeping them out of the adult system. There's I'm going to have to work on that again because it didn't go anywhere, but that's another problem altogether. And then notification of parents when kids are arrested at school. A lot of times parents don't know their kids were arrested, and I think that they need to be able to call the parents before they take them out of the school. That's another bill I'm going to push again.
All right, great. So, all right, great. Okay, so Gary, I'm hoping you are, connected to us again. And so you'll start our next question on public education. And that is, what is the most important thing that the legislature can do to improve public education in Indiana? I know that's a quickly changing landscape.
To my mind, the teacher pay, the teacher benefits, respect for teachers. When you talk to the teachers, particularly young teachers that have only been teaching 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, they're depressed. It's a bad situation with teachers. We have a crisis. I was thinking, if these teachers are forced to go back to school, and if you're a retirement age teacher and eligible for your retirement and you choose to do that, in my mind, I'm wondering if we have enough eligible people that want to fill those positions and be teachers. I think we have a real crisis on our hands with how we compensate teachers and how we treat teachers. And really, the state funnels a lot of things to them. You have to do this, you have to do this, teach to the test. But what they don't do is let the teachers have an active role in that process and that decision making. We need to change it. We have to make life better for teachers right away. So my suggestion on education is help teachers however we can help them. I understand the budget situation, and I don't doubt what Karen's saying about the financial crisis we're going to face real soon. But we cannot give away the issue of teachers. We have to stand up for them now. It's critical.
Great. All right, great. So Luke, we'll go to you next. Same question.
Could you repeat it, please?
Oh, sure. What is the most important thing that the state legislature can do to improve public education in Indiana?
Two things I see is upgrading teacher pay, which I also have a plan for that. I have a 6-step process, which that's a little wordy, but also improving the resources that we give our teachers to educate our children. We have got almost no funding for classroom supplies, for new technology, or for textbooks, and then we expect our severely underpaid teachers to pay for that out of their pockets. I have a coalition of public educators in my district that I've been working with on developing these policies, and they're telling me they're spending anywhere between $800 to $2,000 out of their own pockets per year to give their kids notebooks, backpacks, pencils, and the things that they need to learn. We need to create a program here in the state where we can reimburse those teachers, and we can also give them the supplies that they need to start the school.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. And then Tim, same question. Would you like me to read the question?
No, I got it. Again, teacher pay, since 2002, Indiana's dead last in teacher salary improvements. That is sickening. Then we had the march down in Indianapolis last November, which the governor was conveniently out of town for, gave all public workers a raise except for teachers, which was basically a slap in the face. And then the second, stop giving money to charter schools. Stop. It's every session now. They take more money away from public education and give more money to charter schools. It's for all intents and purposes, charter schools are private schools. The voucher system, I'm not gonna say you don't need a choice to where you want to send your kid to school, but when I was in elementary school, I was in a different district and I ended up going to a school that wasn't the one I was supposed to go to. We didn't have voucher systems then. So I don't think it's that big of an issue, but yeah, teacher pay will attract more people to come to the state. We won't have to do researches and spend taxpayer dollars trying to figure out why no one wants to be a teacher in this state. It's simple. They don't get any respect and their pay is garbage.
All right. Okay, thank you. All right, and Pat.
Okay, I agree. Teachers are very underpaid. Part of the problem is that they keep giving a bigger slice of the pie to the charter schools and the online schools, but they don't increase the size of the pie, which means that they're cutting the public schools. And that's a big problem. The schools have what they call silos. They have so much money they can spend on capital expenses and just normal operating expenses out of their budget. That comes from the taxpayer money, but the rest of it comes from the budget, and the budget is not enough to pay the teachers their worth. As a matter of fact, I don't know if we have enough money that we could pay the teachers what they're really worth. But right now, they're not getting enough to live on, pretty much. I mean, they put in a lot more hours than being in the schoolroom. And they do a lot of work. Some of them are the parents to the kids that are there because their parents aren't available to take care of the kids. They send them to school because they don't teach them anything at home. That's part of the problem with teachers and what they have to deal with, but they don't get paid enough for what they get. And I think that's a really big issue.
All right. Okay, thanks. And I think because our time is running out, I'm going to stop there, and then we'll just ask everyone to do their closing statement. So Gary, let's start with you. I worry that we'll lose you. So I want you to get your closing statement in.
Sounds good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I just want to tell everybody that I've really enjoyed this, and all the candidates, I've been impressed by what you've had to say. And the people watching, we certainly appreciate you being involved in this. One of the things I want to do is return to public service. And part of the job is going to Indianapolis and voting and passing legislation. But part of the job is serving people in the district where you're at. We're going to have a dedicated office, 3340 Monroe Street, LaPorte, Indiana, for a state Senate office. We're going to do quarterly town hall meetings. We're going to do bi-monthly open houses. And I'm going to do more listening than talking to see what the people of my district need and want. For example, teachers. This is a long-term problem. We have to work on it on a grassroots basis. We all have to go from that standpoint. So I want to do the public service, but I want to be a public servant directly so people can come and talk to us and have a place to go and be able to do that. You know, I've done that in my law practice. Courtroom, you might think is the only part of it, and we do a lot of courtroom stuff. There's no doubt about that. But building that case, gathering the evidence, talking to the doctor, talking to the therapist, there's a whole lot behind that. And I want to provide that same kind of service for the people of the 8th district that I hope to serve in the state Senate. So thank you, and I appreciate your vote. Go to davisforsenate.com. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. Okay. And so next we'll go to Tim. Can we hear from you next?
Certainly. Just started off by saying timgustworks.com and then Facebook at the same thing. You know, I'm in a situation where I want to see change in my community, and I'd like to see change in the state. As Gary mentioned, that's not up to me though. It's up to the constituency. And it's about getting people informed. You know, it's great to turn on the news and listen to President Trump spew all kinds of nonsense at people and then ask to be praised for it. So, you know, we actually have to go out, and unfortunately it's tough right now, but we have to speak to these people. And again, I stress the need to engage with younger people because they are going to be the ones that are going to vote for the Democrats. You're not going to change a Trump supporter's mind. It just isn't going to happen. That's been my whole thing. I've teamed up with quite a few local groups in LaPorte. There was one that's it's called All Out, or I'm sorry, Out in LaPorte. It's a gay, straight, you know, LGBTQ plus organization, and we went and we repainted the skate park a couple of weekends ago in LaPorte. And you know, I was going around saying, hey, you know, is everybody registered to vote? If not, please do. I don't care who you vote for. I do, obviously, but you know, it's more important that these folks of the younger generations are registered to vote and understand what their responsibility is when they do go vote. I don't want somebody to vote a straight ticket if somebody on that ticket is garbage, whether it be Republican or Democrat. I don't want to see a straight ticket ever. I mean, if that's the way it ends up shaking out, that's fine, but I don't want to see somebody press that button for straight ticket because that shows an uninformed voter, and you never know what you're going to get with that. You know, I don't want anybody to get lazy and complacent. And that's, again, one of the reasons why I ran for this is I don't think that anyone should run unopposed ever. I think.
All right, I think we'll have to end there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the time.
Okay. All right. Luke, let's have a closing statement from you. Thanks.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone being on here. You know, I think it was a great conversation, great questions, great answers from everyone. I think it's clear that we need change in the state of Indiana. I mean, I think most of us had statistics and numbers that we threw at people that, you know, we're not broadcasting that enough. And if the general public knew how much work needed to be done, I think it'd be easier to translate to some voters. But the only way we're going to do that is by the work of everyone. You know, putting on forums like this, going out, getting volunteers, getting donors, and doing things such as what's going to take days to November. We've had 2 campaign offices all across the district, one down in Monterey, and then one here in Valparaiso, where we're doing our first open house next Saturday at 5 p.m. Central Time. It's at 510 Randall Street. If anyone can come out at 10, that'd be great. Our special guest is going to be Attorney's General candidate Jonathan Weitzapfel. What else? The only thing I can say is send everyone to the website bohmforsenate.com and at Bohm for Indiana on any social media. campaign save money. If you guys want to look us up on Act Blue, we're under the same handle. Send us $5. That'd be great. I really think that's about it. I'd love to talk with anyone here that has more questions or would like to go more in depth. You've got all of our information there, and I just appreciate you guys having us on, and thank you for your time.
All right. Thanks so much, Luke. All right. And Pat.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to join you all today. Thank you to all of you who did so much hard work to get this together, because I know what a pain that is. I want to make sure you are all heard in the State House. Social, economic, and environmental justice is still my platform, if that's what you want to call it. It's still all about how issues affect real people. The minority leader in the House has spoken to the Secretary of State. Just so you know, the absentee ballot form has a bunch of boxes that say, why you can't vote, why you have to vote absentee. One of them is that you're confined. If you're confined because of COVID, that's a valid reason, and she said so. So if you want to get an application for an absentee ballot, do it. Just do it. It's not worth getting the disease just to say you went out to vote instead of voting absentee. Many issues are going to come before the Indiana House. They're all complicated by COVID, but I'm prepared to take them on. With your help, with your vote, I can do that. Please exercise your right to vote. And when you do, please vote for me. Together we can move Indiana forward. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, great. All right, thank you. And now I'm going to ask Steve to say a few words. I'm trying to find his little box here. Steve, are you unmuted? I believe you are. You should be unmuted, Steve. It looks like you are unmuted.
I am now unmuted.
Excellent.
Yay.
All right.
I really appreciate the candidates spending their evening with us. It's exciting that there are 4 articulate candidates all running. I want to state the obvious that these candidates are not running against each other. They're all running on the Democratic Party. And some people in LaPorte County are represented by one of these candidates. Some will be supported by more than one. So we have to actually look at who your representation is. But we've got good candidates. The key thing is everybody's got to vote. Everybody's got to get registered to vote. This focus on younger people, absolutely the case. I mean, we need to, as difficult as it is with the pandemic, we have to find ways to get out there and really motivate young people to get involved and to vote. Each of these candidates needs workers. They need talented people to take on tasks. They all need money. So tomorrow or tonight, we'll send out an email to everybody with the Act Blue connections, links for all the candidates, encourage people to actually donate. Matter of fact, I think it's in the chat box right now. I also want to tell people there'll be a second forum next week at the same time where we'll hear from the 2 congressional candidates in Northwest Indiana. We'll hear from Pat Hackett in Congressional District 2 and Frank Mervan from Congressional District 1. Again, these are non-competing candidates, but between them, they basically will be Northwest Indiana's representation in the House of Representatives. So they're very important to us. So we hope people will sign in again next week and encourage other people to sign in as well. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. We have your emails, so everybody will be on our mailing list. So that as we do other events, you'll hear from us, and you can actually sign up for next week's congressional forum on our website right now. So we're ready to go. And there's various chat comments that I think everybody can see. But we'll send out an email to everybody so they'll have it right in front of them. Thanks all. Appreciate it.
All right, there we all are. And again, thanks. And of course, I always have to give a shout out to voter registration. Go to indianavoters.com to check your registration, to register to vote, to request an absentee ballot, or to find out where to go if you're going to vote in person. So, indianavoters.com. And thanks so much to our candidates, Kim Gust for House District 20, Luke Bohm for Senate District 5, Pat Boyd for House District 9, and Gary Davis for Senate District 8. So thanks for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you this time again next week. Good night.